Entrepreneur True Confessions podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're so happy to have you here. And I am Laura or Oda. And I own a virtual assistant project management agency. We do help small businesses to grow and scale their businesses confidently. We help build strategy, add staffing needs, focus on where your business is going and what exactly is the best use of your staff's time and help you get that staff in place and help you with your business so you can grow or go on vacation, anything like that.
Cool. And I'm Angelique with Lady Powerhouse Solutions, and we are a heart centered approach to offering project and event management to women entrepreneurs that are on fire and lighten up the world with their passion and drive. And we help them achieve their mission in the most authentic way possible, whatever that mission is. And Laura and I do really similar things. And typically you would see that, oh, well, you can't, work together because, you're competitors. Um, and yeah, on the one hand, I guess we are, but really we're not because we're of an abundance mindset, right? And we believe there's plenty to go around.
Absolutely. That's what makes us wonderful is because we are in similar industries and we do the same thing in so many different ways. Um, where do you turn when you're looking for the support you need that understands exactly your business? Well, you turn to your competitors, and there's a lot of us that are like, now we're just business besties and everything's great. We have a trust and a bond with each other where it makes it much easier for us to not worry about that who's going to have what piece of what pie and are we even and does this work, and it doesn't matter. We don't think about those things. We're just here to help, support, love up on each other, and just be really caring towards what it's like to be in this world in competition in so many other corners of it. So we don't worry about that amongst us.
Yes. So together we are Fempreneur True Confessions podcast. Our mission is to empower women in business and life to live authentically, support each other like we do. We try to model that for people and to kind of squash this competitive tendency and to model this authentically through our businesses and our personal relationships so that we can empower other women to do the same thing. So we're trying to normalize the struggles and share the lessons that we've learned, and that's the point of having guests on here is yeah, we could get on here and basically bitch and moan all day long,
Mhm.
but we're not the only female entrepreneurs out there struggling with the same issues, and that's what we're trying to get across is that there is a common goal, right? And that we can succeed and we can normalize what it looks like when women succeed at supporting each other and building up each other, sharing our gifts, and encouraging one another just basically to fulfill our life's calling. So we hope that you will join us as we build, maintain, and grow this sisterhood that believes in an abundance mindset, sharing our struggles and helping each other rise to our highest potential. So we have an awesome guest today. Laura, would you like to introduce our guest? And she's kind of a former contact.
Yes, yeah, Dawnell and I have been, we met into networking. Gosh, I won't even say it was alignable, but we met networking a little over a year ago. So I'm watching her grow and her business is just moving along. So all these exciting things, we're like, let's have Donnell on and have a good conversation with her. So well, everyone,
Awesome.
and I do want to introduce Dawnell. And her name is Dawnell Kelly. She is the CEO and founder of Auxly Help, a project management agency that specializes in women led small business operations. After serving in the Navy as a shipboard firefighter for 8 years, thank you, and studying kinesiology and psychology at the University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, Eau Claire. Dawnell was inspired to shift gears and enter the world of women-led businesses. She discovered a new, exciting way to express her passion for project management by collaborating with other women entrepreneurs. Dawnell's team brings an integrated approach through Auxly Help, providing tailor-made planning, procurement, and execution of projects by using shared collaboration techniques. This unique approach allows for more work to get done in less time, the epitome of efficiency. Dawnell founded Auxly Help based on her personal vision, using her values as a guide. She discovered a fulfilling purpose within Auxly Help to empower future women business leaders. Welcome. We're so
Thank
Awesome.
you.
excited.
Welcome.
Your service.
Yeah, especially that. Thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
And Ricky, we have Ricky
So-
here watching. She's on the side. She says hello. So hello, Ricky. So excited you're here today.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Hey, Ricky. So Ricky, it looks like she's on LinkedIn. So yeah, and just another reminder to people that are tuning in, even at a later time, we do live stream to both YouTube and LinkedIn. Sometimes we have some connection issues with LinkedIn, but most of the time we're there. So thank you again, Dawnell. And so let's dig in. One of the things that you talked about when you submitted your topics was self-sabotage. And I think this is such a huge thing for, I don't know, it really resonated with me, but I think it's a big deal for women, especially women who are ambitious, especially that are driven, motivated, all those things. So let's talk about some of the main challenges you face. Now, you went from working 2 jobs, living alone, no real friends or family nearby, a product of unhealthy upbringing. And so this sounds like the perfect recipe for self-sabotage. But so let's talk about the main challenges for you as you were coming out of that.
I think one of the main challenges is the mental health piece, the anxiety, the depression. It's difficult when you're in the midst of it to deal with it. So getting into therapy and really resisting initially, of course, but really having to look at how much power and control I really had over myself and my life and my choices. So rather than being so reactive and in that victim mindset, it was important for me to go, well, it is what it is. Now, what can I do to move forward?
Oh, very nice.
So what did you come up with?
Well, honestly, it was just an accident that I met a woman entrepreneur, and I suggested, based on what she offered, that she take her business nationwide. I had this inspiration, right? And instead of turning away from it, I leaned into it because I thought, what do I have to lose at this point? So I had these
Yes.
ideas and I had no experience. I couldn't even spell entrepreneur, but I said, I'm just going to bring it up. I'm just going to say, I'm just going to say what I'm thinking. And it came from a place of like, you get that flash, like I could see how this could be so much better, so I brought it up to her. I said, we should take this virtual. This is great. You could help so many more people. And this was before COVID. So it was kind of like, what does that look like? How are you going to do it? You're in another state. And so I got really bold and I said, well, I have a laptop. I have access to the internet. That is the epitome of virtual. So just give me a shot. And again, I was working in a warehouse. I was bartending. I had a mattress on the floor and a crock pot. So I was doing pretty good. And yeah, I know. And so I essentially took my ideas and broke them down into action steps and then just started plugging away. And she could see that I was making progress. So for example, I'd never done this before, but I understood the concept of a department in a business, right? I know what taking something that's happening in person and how to make it virtual, right? So I just took all these huge ideas that seemed overwhelming, broke them down, and then again, just taking action, just doing something, getting out of my own head and be willing to fail. And it was terrifying, but also awesome.
Right. I love it.
So what were those little things that you did to, I know for me, it's kind of like I got to kind of trick myself into doing I understand how about, you eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Yes.
And a lot of people forget that.
Yes.
Right. So you have to break it down in these small steps.
Yes.
So talk a little bit more about how for me, it's like reverse engineering.
Okay.
Right.
Yes. So are you talking about how to get motivated to do those things? How to get out of my own head? Yeah. Okay. So what I noticed was when it was something that I was really passionate about, and again, I wasn't fully familiar with this feeling, but I knew I was excited about it. So it wasn't so much I had to motivate myself. It was that I had to, how do I describe it? Like I was afraid of doing it wrong, but I was just so excited to start. So it was a balance, but there was no reverse engineering. It was just like, I don't know if you've ever been in this position, but it was literally, I have nothing left to lose. So I'm just going to go all in. I'm going to try my best. It's like my only shot. You know what I mean? So it wasn't so much like nowadays, right? I have things I have to do and I have to figure out and get motivated. I don't want to write marketing emails, but back then it's like, this is all I have going for me right now. So I'm going to put everything I got into it and cross my fingers and close my eyes. And then as far as the self-sabotage goes, that comes in when I'm doing too well. So maybe it's a different approach, but for me, it's like everything's going well. I'm on track. I'm having fun. Something must be wrong or something's going to happen. Well, before I can fail, before I can be embarrassed by doing something wrong, I will cause something to happen. So it's not my fault. This happened as a result of my actions by accident. Like, for example, what's a good one? Have you guys ever experienced this where you miss a deadline or you're late to something or you don't respond and you forgot, but really you're probably just, you're doing really well and you feel like you don't deserve it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think subconsciously, a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for myself.
Yes.
So how did you learn to recognize those warning signs that like, oh, I'm headed for some self-sabotage time here? So what was that process for you? Like, okay, like I've got to stop doing this. I know Mel Robbins, everybody knows who Mel Robbins, right?
Yes.
I listened to a podcast with her recently and she, the 5-second rule. She just one day she said, you have to adult.
Yes.
What to do, what you need to do. You're just not doing it.
Yes.
And so for her, it was like, okay, I have to get my ish together. And she saw a rocket blast off or whatever on TV. And she goes, you know what, tomorrow I'm just going to blast myself out of bed in the morning. And so when she woke up, she's like, all right, she did that countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And she got up and she said in the podcast, which was about from like a month ago, she said, I've been doing it every day since.
That's amazing.
That's how she gets out of bed.
Right.
So was there a catalyst? Was there some kind of trick that you played on yourself to, or, what was it for you? Because I feel like there are probably a lot of people out there that could relate.
I think, and again, this is not linear. And like you said, everyone is different. So that's why my story is different. But for me, I recognize signs as opposed to something being clear and dry. I don't get text messages saying, watch out, you're about to self-sabotage,
Right. Nobody.
Yes. But it's more so I feel down, right? I have low energy. I'm not sleeping very well. I have higher anxiety. So when I'm not in line with my true purpose, when I'm not doing what I'm really supposed to be doing, and I'm getting distracted or sidetracked, I feel just drained, just exhausted, and not in a good mood, overall. So it's just, it creeps up on you, right? And that's where, antidepressants can come in and help and things like that. But if you can start doing self-check-ins, right? So maybe once a day, check in, how am I feeling? And then journaling at the end of the day, just a brain dump. I call it dirty writing, where You set a timer for 5 to 10 minutes and you just write everything that's coming up in your mind. It doesn't have to have good punctuation. It doesn't even have to make sense. Like, so you can jump around, but you can kind of let it pour out through the pen and see what is going on right now with my mental health, you know?
Oh, that's really good.
Mhm.
I really like that.
Absolutely.
Dirty writing.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's what it is. And you know what? Some stuff comes up and you're like, ooh, that was dark, but it's you. And you need to know, you know,
Yeah.
can't be afraid of who you really
Yeah.
are. So let it all out and then kind of look back and go, all right, there's some hidden stuff there and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what ultimately brought you, and how long did it take, I think is another great thing to talk about, is what really brought you through, you know, that one phase to the next phase where you didn't significantly, quote unquote, backslide. And then how long did that take? Was it a year? Was it a month? Was it 5 years?
So it's still ongoing, right? There's no, for me, I can only speak for
Right.
myself. There's no finish line where I cross it and I'm like, I'm super mental healthy now and everything's perfect, right? So, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. So it's just, there was no significant turning point. I will say I was able to start trusting people. And that happened when I first met my husband and I thought, oh, this is interesting. I don't immediately feel defensive, right? So as living alone and kind of being wrapped up in your own head, it's tough to connect with other people on a deeper level, like emotionally, and really trust them with your thoughts and whatnot. So I think when I started opening up to other people and connecting with them, that really helped me see I wasn't so alone and there wasn't something wrong with me and that it was okay to try and fail. And it sounds cliche, but it's so easy. And I don't know if you've experienced this, I'm sure you have, where something in your head feels so serious and, oh my gosh, this is the end of whatever. But when you have other people to bounce ideas off of and talk to, they kind of put things in perspective. And that really helped me jump from mattress on the floor to growing my own business.
Yeah.
That is,
So
yeah.
I think one of the common questions that I find myself asking our guests is, where'd you find your people?
Oh, that's a good question. So honestly, I met my husband first, and that was an anomaly. I met him literally in a bar. Just there was some live music playing, and he had brought this like old school Nintendo thing with a tube TV, and I'm like, oh, well, that's weird. What is this? And he's like, well, I brought it. I was like, who are you, and what's happening? So after that, it was tough because I realized a lot of the people that I thought were my friends, we weren't on the same page as I started growing personally. I don't know if you've experienced this, but as I was evolving, I was like shedding old people and yeah. So I felt kind of isolated in that way. And then it was, just recently, and that was, goodness, 3 or 4 years ago. And it's just been I've been evolving almost in hermit mode over the last few years, but I've developed a couple of really strong bonds over mental health and being healthy overall, not weight loss per se, but in every area, right? Physical, mental, family, personal. So I started connecting with people who have similar values and similar goals after I figured out what those even were. And I realized, oh, these are a good guideline to connecting with other people. And when I started doing that, everything started falling into place because, again, we had the same values. So it's tough. There's no app. I mean, maybe there is an app, but that's not how I did it, right? It's more so like Facebook groups, things like that, and really just kind of putting myself out there. Hey, I'm looking for connections. Is anyone else looking to work on their health? And then people that respond, you kind of just start going, okay, well, what are your goals? And just really connecting on that level. So I would say people in a similar stage of life to you is where you want to look. People always talk about target demographics for your business. What about target demographics for your friends?
Yeah.
Figure out what you need.
Yeah. I mean, and I mentioned this before we went live, like Dawnell and I have similar stories. We have similar, like how we evolved, how our businesses evolved, what we do. And I have to say that And the reason I'm so curious about that specifically is because I also had to let go of people like friends that I had known since high school,
Mhm.
and that felt like family, that I considered family.
Yeah.
And having to let those relationships go because they were now, so it was so obvious now how
Right.
unsupportive that
Correct.
relationship was. Like, it wasn't just over the years you go in different directions, you grow differently, and your values change.
Yes.
Hopefully they get better. um and it's hard when you recognize that your values don't align anymore with the person that is your best friend,
Right.
and having to let those relationships go, or just not investing as much time and energy into those relationships. It's not like you hate them. It's
No.
not like it's just, okay, we're different people now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a different person.
Right.
And I have spent the last 5 years, um, maybe even really longer than that, figuring my own ish out,
Right.
right? And healing and discovering who I really am and who I really want to be when I grow up.
Yes.
And, and I shared this, I think it on my company page, but it's the real flex is freedom. It's
Yes.
not the car and the big house anymore. It's, are you financially free? Is your time free?
Yes.
Do you have time freedom? And that really resonated with me. And especially over the past, I'd say, year or two, I've done a significant amount of, like you said, I felt really, really honestly alone.
Right. It is. It's very
Because,
isolating. Hmm.
yeah, it's like, okay, figuring out that relationship doesn't work for me, or it isn't, exactly the kind of people I just want to spend a bunch of time with
Right.
anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've met other people since then, and we align on our values, but like you said, we're in a different part of our life.
Yes.
I am now a single, uh, childless, uh, you know, entrepreneur.
Right.
I'm in, my I don't have any kids at home.
Hmm.
I don't have anybody that's telling me what I can and can't do, and I don't have to ask permission to fucking do anything. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And while I know other female entrepreneurs that we align on our values really well, they're in a different part of their life.
Right.
They're just starting a family, or they're, just starting a business, or whatever it is.
Hmm.
So finding my own, I'm just
You
right
need
in this
both.
time in my life.
Yeah, you need both.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out, how do I find these people?
Right. I would say,
And
yeah,
I
you
think
got to go in those groups, and it seems too simple, but you got to go where you think your people are. Just like for your business, do it for yourself. You're worth it. Your mental health is paramount to any and all of this, right? Like you said, freedom. How about passion? How about purpose? How about the independence that comes with making money doing what you love? Okay, that's
yes.
great. But then also, if you zoom out a little bit more, you have that community, right? That you guys can support each other. So you're doing good by yourself, and you got your business. Okay, now you expand out. Now you got this awesome supportive network to lean on too, right? Because you're
Yeah.
so much more than just an entrepreneur. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
And I really appreciate, sorry, Laura.
Oh, I said that's exactly what it is. It's that recognizing, this is what you are, and then on the broader bird view of it, what else is involved in that, and where does it bring you to? And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
And that's one of the things I've really benefited from this podcast, is connecting with women that are in a similar position or space, or similar values as I am, and really connecting with them and building a relationship with them.
Yes.
We really are building this awesome community. I just am so proud of, we haven't even been doing this a year yet, and we've had so many awesome guests, and we've attracted so many incredible people. Yeah, yes, we're about women,
Right.
it's fempreneurs. But that I think before we're a gender, we're a person.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. Went off on a little tangent there. So we talked about what brought you through that time into the next phase.
Correct.
So knowing what you know now,
Yes.
what's one piece of advice you would have given your former self that would have given her a little bit of an upper hand?
Oh, only one? I would say journal more. Journal, get it out, and really don't be afraid to face yourself, because you'd grow so much faster, right? If you keep pushing it off, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of how hard you're going to make it when you're in the midst of personal growth. It will happen. If you miss an opportunity, you'll get another one and another one. But it's like when someone's knocking on your door, and then they're banging on your door, and then they're bringing a sledgehammer to the door, and it's just getting more and more painful. It's like just journal
And
it out,
loud.
and loud and just obnoxious. And it's like, just, this is the sign, just follow the sign. Like, stop waiting until it's a struggle or you're suffering to make a change for the better. Do it now.
Yeah.
So it sounds like being more self-aware and self-reflective.
Yes.
Was a huge growing stage for you.
Yeah. Really big. It's the hardest part for me was facing myself and figuring out who I truly was. Because once I figured that out, then I knew I would have to act on it.
Yeah.
That's scary. It's easy to play small and to do what's easy. Bartending's easy. Working in a warehouse is easy. But starting a business and following my passion of empowering women is scary. Right?
And not easy.
And not easy at all.
You see all the bright, shiny, and they're all successful, everything's great. And you're like, that must have been so easy. Or they make it sound like you just take these 10 steps and it's amazing. I'm like, oh, how long is each step supposed to last? Wait, let's have a completely different discussion. Like, yes, there's 10 steps, but it could take you 10 years or, whatever. Yes. So you're always in that, understanding that mode of we see what we see on the surface, but the behind the scenes day-to-day stuff every day is, like you're saying, Angelique, you get lonely, you do get tired. People don't understand, the drive and what it takes. Families have, especially with young ones, have a hard time with the understanding of this is not permanent, but this is for right now. This is the necessity right at this moment. And that's always a hard discussion to have. If you don't, especially if you don't have support at home. I happen to have a great support system here as well, which makes it nice. But there's still moments when you get the side eye and you're, sitting on the couch with your computer and you get that, and because you're not going to look, you're just going to look straight, but and so it's like, let me shut down and, okay, I'm almost done, and that kind of thing where it's really recognizing, how do you balance that and what do you do? Like, when is it time to shut off? And everybody gets to that point when it's recognizing it's time to shut down.
Yeah.
Or you're forced to. Your health.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm talking to you, Laura. Your health will suffer. And see, I love you. You know this. Your health will suffer something. And for me, it's like I've been there. I've been where, okay, I can't get out of bed today because I worked 16 hours yesterday and the day before that and the day before that and the day before that. And I pushed too hard. And as I'm getting older, my body is a less understanding of, of of my ability to push through mental barriers or physical barriers, or, whatever the case may be that day.
Right.
So we've talked about how hard it is, and we've talked about how it's not easy. So why would we do it? Why? Tell us why. If it's hard and it's not easy, and because we will take the path of least resistance as humans, we're lazy that way.
Yep.
So let's talk about why do you do it then?
Oh, why? Like I mentioned before, that feeling of passion, purpose, you are following your calling. That in and of itself, as soon as you allow yourself, from my point of view, you get this rush of energy that can carry you through the parts that aren't so fun. Because overall, when you zoom out, you know you're making a difference. And you're doing it in a way that comes naturally to you. So it's not hard, right? Some of the work is labor intensive, but if you pace yourself, it's more than doable. And you have to do something anyway. The time's going to pass anyway. So you might as well do it doing something that fires you up. And sometimes it can be exhausting, right? If you're doing 16-hour days over and over. But that's where I am a huge advocate of self-care and putting your mental health first. So a lot of us get caught in that trap of one more thing. Let me just get this done.
Yep.
And then I will be happy to take a break,
Guilty.
whatever. Right. So what I tell people to do is you need to be proactive about your mental health. So when you're sitting down for your, quarterly meeting or your annual meeting, or hopefully you're doing both, you need to schedule the time off ahead of time and block it off in your calendar, or it's never going to happen. So you need to be proactive about that. That's a day where you unplug. And honestly, it makes you more productive because your brain can kind of get some new ideas, right? It's like, training for anything. When you're training for a marathon, you need to take breaks to allow yourself to heal, right?
Yeah, you need rest.
Right. So that, and then I am a little extreme, according to some people. I think it's reasonable, where you take an hour of self-care every day. And it doesn't have to be an hour straight, but it does need to be an hour. So maybe 15 minutes here.
That's extreme. Taking an hour for yourself is extreme.
That's what I've heard.
That's whacked.
Yeah, because people, like you said, 16 hours a day are one of those hours self-care.
Right.
Are they?
Nope.
No.
Oh, for me.
Oh, well, yeah, for me now. In the beginning, no.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's important, to just
We need
pace
to
yourself.
normalize it. That needs to be like a given.
Right.
It needs to be a given. So I'm glad you're talking about self-care and mental health. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. I like to call it mental fitness. I just sent out my monthly newsletter and talked all about how, what I do for my mental fitness, and shared a bunch of resources.
Nice.
So you have something that you just started doing. So I'd love for you to talk about that.
Yes. So I just started doing what I'm calling the self-care club. And essentially what it is it's about life health, right? So every area of your life, how to be healthy in it. And there's no program, there's no formula that you have to do these steps and eat these things and you will blank. That's not how it works. So the point of the self-care club is to discover more about what self-care means to you, and then having the accountability to stick to it, which is the more difficult part. So how I structure it is we all get a journal, right? Whatever journal speaks to you, order one on Amazon, go to the store, something that's just for you. And then you have a nice pen to go with it. Then you sit down, you have some quiet time, and you picture yourself 3 years from now. Who is that woman? What does she do for fun? What does she eat? How does she dress? What does her life look like spiritually, mentally, physically? Is she a wife? Is she a mom? Who is she as a person? What does she like to do for fun, right? How's her business? So you really just let it all out. And even if some of it seems like, well, that doesn't seem realistic to me, it's not up to you. Just write it out. And then break that down into what you can realistically do over the next year, right? And just figure out, well, I could probably get that done in the next 8 months, maybe. And then break that down into the current quarter. What can you do over the next 90 days to make progress towards that year goal? Break that down into the month, into the week, into today. And a lot of it is daily habits, I'm sure. So you have this journal, you have everything laid out. Great. It's like a New Year's resolution, right? Now let's take it a step further. Okay. So each day you're going to document what you did and if you did it or not, right? And then at the end of the day, you're going to lay out what got done, what didn't, why not. Then you're going to have a weekly meeting with 2 other women, and you guys are going to identify, discuss, and then solve what happened. So you don't have to judge yourself, right? You write down at the end of the day, I got this done, I didn't get this done, I didn't have time. Leave it. Do that for 7 days. Then on that 7th day, when you meet with the other 2 women, you guys talk about it and you say, yep, I didn't get this done. And then everyone else says if they got it done or not. And then you guys discuss, why didn't you get it done? Well, I didn't have time. Okay, but why didn't you make time? Well, this and this happened. Okay, but maybe you don't really want to do this. Maybe this is you think you should be doing this, but you don't really want to. You really dig deep into why you have the goals that you do, and if you're even really meant to reach those ones, or if there's something else that you feel called to do. And then lastly, once you decide, okay, I didn't get this done because I didn't have enough time, because I don't know if I really want to do it. You don't just leave it on the negative, you leave it with the solution. So now that the solution comes in, what are we going to do from here? Do you want to try one more week? Do you want to try it a different way? Maybe you're meant to do this in the evening instead of first thing in the morning, right? So you got to really find, what is the solution here? How does this work best for me? Not how should I be doing this according to some standard. So over time, you're really discovering what self-care means to you, how it works with you. And I mean, just become the person that you're meant to be,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
awesome.
Yeah. And then I think adding in the chat is the key. So you and the other 2 women are in a group chat, and you're able to just vent day to day what's going on, talk about your wins. And then I really advocate that there is no pressure to respond at all, because we're busy and we're all ultimately in charge of our own mental fitness, as you would call it. So we don't need other people validating. It's just important to get it off your chest. And if you want to respond, you can, but very low pressure. It's just coming together. Again, you have the same kind of values. You want to be healthier, and you're just kind of, alone, isolated.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It reminds me, I used to do a free accountability channel in Slack.
Mm-hmm.
Laura, do you remember when we did that?
Yeah.
And we had read We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rogers, and she has the Daily 7. I added one more and I called it the Daily 8. It was very business oriented, but I can see how you could break that, that yearly goal into a quarterly goal, to a monthly goal, to a weekly goal, to a daily 8.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are the 8 things that you're going to do today to reach that? And it could be as simple as, I'm going to check the chat and respond, or I'm going to put something in the chat.
Yeah.
Maybe not respond.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like this self-care club idea. I think it's fantastic. And we're definitely doing this.
Yes.
We're doing this. Aren't we doing this, Laura?
We're doing this.
We talked about it before. I'm not twisting her arm. But I love it. And I can't believe we're like already out of time. Mind you, it's our podcast. We can talk as long as we want to, but we try to keep it, within under an hour, because I don't know about anybody else. I see an hour and I'm like, I ain't got time for that. And I move on to something that's shorter.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, is it the social media that's trained us to be like, no, I want it now. I want all the information now. So first and foremost, thank you so very much for your time, for sharing your story. And, it is powerful, because when we hear that someone else struggles with self-sabotage and they were able to pull themselves out with the help of supportive people, and how to find those supportive people, it isn't necessarily, it could just be one person. I know for me, over the past year, it's been my family. If it weren't for my family, I don't know. I can't even say what that would have looked, what the past year would have looked like. It would have looked very differently.
Yeah.
I just know that. And, talking about how sometimes the right thing is to not stay in a relationship, or to spend as much time in a relationship. And that's okay.
Right.
That's okay.
Yeah.
it's to normalize that. And, I read a bio on, Denise Duffield Thomas, who it was another book club book,
Oh,
Get Rich, Lucky Bitch.
yeah.
We loved the book. And she's got another free money mindset course coming out. And so I've been following her for like about a year. But one of the things that I lost my train of thought. Doggone it.
I get it.
Get
I
Rich,
get
Lucky
it.
Bitch.
Freaking neuro spicy.
So Simon Sinek, you know who Simon Sinek is, right?
Yeah.
He was on a podcast I was listening to recently, and he was doing his first TED Talk, and that happened to him. He lost his train of thought. Simon Sinek.
Oh, love it.
And he froze, and he was like, he could not remember what he was gonna say, what he was talking about 5 seconds ago. And so he said, well, I just lost my train of thought. You know how when you're on stage and you're talking and then your mind just goes blip. So if somebody could just tell me what I was just saying, and the whole audience laughed, and somebody said, you were talking about this, and he was back on his way. And it's encouraging when you hear about somebody that famous, well-known, well-spoken, huge speaker. I mean, after that, his career just took off, right?
Yeah.
But what got him through was that he was transparent about it. And I just thought that was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was talking about Denise Duffield Thomas, and I don't remember why. Get Rich, Lucky Bitch. I don't know. Maybe it'll come to me later. But it was something to do along with the lines with what we were talking about. What were we talking about right before that?
Are you talking about? Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Donna.
Basically, how you said you broke it down into the daily 8, and so.
Yeah, that was Rachel.
Yep.
I don't remember what it was. Something triggered my train of thought, but that's
and you
okay.
guys had that free Slack channel too, yeah.
Yeah.
Group. And we tried
Which after a while, what?
I said we tried it and got, when you start off good and then things dwindle, people get busier, you forget. And then it became partially like that, where it's like, okay, accountability, get in there, like go get this done, and that kind of thing. So
Yeah. I think it came down to because it was free.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Unfortunately, money keeps us accountable. Some kind of time investment. Okay. Well, evidently it's not going to come back to me. That's okay. I do want to encourage people we're going to share the Forbes article that you put out. I absolutely love it. It's called The Top 4 Powerful Reasons to Embrace Collaboration over Competition. And that is what we're all about. The other thing I wanted to make sure that we talked about was your free ebook, The 4 Secret Steps to Get from Frustration to Freedom. We're going to drop her website and a link to the article along with all your social and everything else. Perfect. So we will be putting that out there in the show notes. That'll drop tomorrow. Next week's guest. So we have this little thing that we do where we have the current guest introduce the next guest. And our next guest next week is Dr. Debbie Burns.
Dr. Debbie Burns, yes. So Debbie Burns is fire forged. I can't even pronounce this bad where I'm like, oh, how do I say Molotov?
Molotov, yeah.
Okay, so anyways, let me start over there. So Debbie Burns is fire forged, a Molotov cocktail in Hello Kitty packaging. Deb's dynamic, humorous, and heart-centered style of communication allows her to take others on the vulnerable journey of diving straight to the soul and facing the hard things found there. And her love for the people she serves is palpable. Deb's goal is transformation, not just inspiration, and she leaves her audience both elevated and hungry for more. Her audacious vision is to touch the lives of 7 billion people by awakening and deepening the love they have for themselves. Love has been the focal point of Deb's life for as long as she can remember. Her earliest request of the divine was to see and love others as higher power does, though having the same love for herself didn't come until much later in life. After graduating from university, Deb followed the practical path of marriage and climbing corporate ladders that society, culture, and family had dictated for her. Until, face pressed against the rough industrial carpet, she thought she was going to die at the hands of an armed robber. Her biggest regret? Not ever having lived the life she truly wanted. Deb spiraled into darkness as she was forced to navigate post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, and high suicidality. Eventually committed because she couldn't keep herself on this planet anymore. It was within those sterile walls that Deb learned she didn't have to live by anyone else's rules but her own, and in rewriting said rules, she discovered her path back to radical self-love and meaningful joy. From terrified shut-in to international best-selling author, public speaker, and soul magic creator, Deb's message of courage, love, and the magic of living your own rules is now spreading across continents. Deb will read your soul and speak back the magic she sees there. As she often says, if you knew what I knew about you, you wouldn't stop until your magic transformed the world. It's incredible.
Isn't that
Yeah,
wonderful?
she is
Deb
incredible.
is really
I'm super
amazing.
excited
Yeah.
To have her. I've been to a couple of her, been through several of her offerings and seen her speak multiple times and read her book. She has a book as well, and she's just awesome. So thank you for reading that for us and introducing next week's guest. We have an ask that at the end of each episode, and that is this time sign up for our newsletter. We send out a weekly newsletter for sneak peeks of who our upcoming guests are. We don't do that anywhere else, and we're starting a new monthly basically a monthly recap of all the resources and discounted offers from the podcast guests for that month. So it's a really great value. It's a way for us to kind of combine all of the yumminess that we've experienced through our podcast through the month. So we hope that you will sign up for that newsletter. You can do that in the show notes. There'll be a link for that.
Perfect.
So,
that's awesome.
Thank you again, Dawnell. Really appreciate it. And it's been a true pleasure getting to know you better and hearing your story. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that, because it's just so important.
Absolutely.
I agree. Thank you. This is really great connecting with you. I love that.
Wonderful. Hang out, and we're really glad you're here. Thank you again for coming. Watching you grow has just been amazing. So, and she does have a little one, everyone. So she's the one. She's the little one running around, and makes that priority too. So,
Yep.
I just remembered why I mentioned Denise Duffield Thomas. So you said mom, and that's what I loved. I was looking at Denise, something about Denise, and in her bio, she says she's a lazy introvert. I'm like, yes, please. And she's an unbusy mom. And in my newsletter, I said, raise your hand if you want to be unbusy.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep. Exactly.
So thank you for mentioning that she's a mom, because that triggered it for me. So, all right, guys, we'll see you guys next week. Same bat channel, same bat time. Have a great